If there's one thing Marvel Cosmic Invasion has shown since its launch, it's that it knows how to deliver a spectacle. While Double Dragon Revive attempts to recapture the spirit of classic beat-em-ups, the Marvel game goes further, taking the action and the progression system to another level. So today, we're going to talk about 10 things that Marvel Cosmic Invasion does better than Double Dragon Revive. And some of these differences might surprise even the most loyal fans of the Lee brothers. I'm Matthew, and the video is about to start. What truly makes Marvel Cosmic Invasion stand out is its absurd cast of heroes. We're talking about 15 iconic Marvel characters, names like Wolverine, Venom, Silver Surfer, and Phyla-Vell. And the best part is that each of them has their own unique personality within the gameplay. This isn't the type of roster that's inflated just for the sake of numbers. Here, every hero feels like they were designed to occupy a unique space. You can feel this both in their movement and in the way each one interacts with the environment and enemies. Another impressive thing is how differently they play. The game doesn't settle for a standard style. There are melee combat characters, aerial fighters who abuse verticality, and even heroes totally focused on long-range attacks. This division makes the fights much more strategic because everything depends on the combination of styles you choose. While Wolverine is brute and direct, Silver Surfer has a more technical and fluid touch, almost like he's dancing in battle. The upgrades also make a difference, especially the HP and passive ones. They don't just make the characters stronger, but they shape their specialties. A Venom more focused on regeneration plays completely differently from one geared toward all-out attack. This provides a sense of progression that Double Dragon Revive simply lacks. Over there, the characters are charismatic, but they lack that sense of development and personalization that makes you feel attached to each one. And speaking of Revive, that's precisely where it stumbles. The game has few fighters, and although they are visually polished, the gameplay doesn't offer much depth. They all end up feeling similar after a while. It's almost as if you swap the skin and the moveset barely changes, whereas in Cosmic Invasion, every new hero changes the rhythm of the entire combat. The variety there is so great that it feels like a gigantic crossover of fighting styles, and not just a team of good brawlers. In the end, this extensive and well-crafted roster is what gives Marvel Cosmic Invasion its soul. You don't feel like you're playing the same character in different bodies. You feel like you're exploring completely new versions of the Marvel Universe. And that's rare. It's the kind of detail that transforms a good action game into something you want to revisit just to discover new combinations and rediscover the pleasure of fighting with your favorite heroes. One of the things that makes Marvel Cosmic Invasion so enjoyable to play is the tag team system. It's fast, intuitive, and, best of all, genuinely fluid. You can swap characters at any moment, mid-combo, without depending on a full meter or specific conditions. This gives you incredible freedom to create unique and experimental setups, which is very reminiscent of that frantic feeling of the classic Marvel vs. Capcom. Every well-timed swap seems choreographed, and when it works, it's pure spectacle. The most impressive thing is how the instant swaps fit naturally within the fighting rhythm. It's not just pressing a button to call your partner, it's about understanding the timing. You can pull off a combo, swap to another hero, and continue the juggle as if nothing happened. This system makes every battle feel like a dance between two fighters, and when you start to master the assists and aerial transitions, you realize how much the combat can still evolve. The game also gives a lot of room for creativity. Assists don't just help in emergencies, but they can be used to link supers, prolong air combos, or even set the stage for massive attacks. It's the kind of mechanic that rewards experimentation. Meanwhile, games like Double Dragon Revive end up feeling rigid. You have to charge your partner or wait for specific meters to do the basic stuff. This breaks the rhythm and kills the fluidity that a good brawler needs to have. And that's where Cosmic Invasion hits the mark. It understands that the player wants freedom. There are no penalties for wanting to swap, nor absurd limitations that restrain the action. Every decision made in battle is purely mechanical and strategic, not bureaucratic. This ease makes the game addictive, because in every match you discover a new way to synchronize your characters, like a modern tag fighter rooted in pure arcade fun. This tag team system is the beating heart of Marvel Cosmic Invasion. It mixes the stylish chaos of the best fighting games with the cooperative structure of a contemporary brawler. With every swap made at the right time, with every well-executed combined super, you feel that good nostalgia, as if you were playing a new spiritual chapter of Marvel vs. Capcom, only reinvented for the present.
Invasion's combat is one of the game's strongest points, and it's not hard to see why. Everything here is designed to be responsive, fast, and layered. Combos flow naturally, and each character has their own cadence, which makes the game much more interesting than a simple hit and run. You can feel that every blow was planned to have a purpose, and not just to fill space. The defense system is also impressive. Parry, dodge, and block are unique mechanics for each hero, and this completely changes the way you deal with enemies. It's not just pressing a button and hoping. You need to study the rhythm of each fighter, discover when to block, when to dodge, or when to attempt a daring parry. This adds depth to the combat, making every battle a tactical, not just visual experience. Aerial attacks are also a differential. While in many games flying enemies are a nuisance, here the game encourages you to go after them, with combos that extend through the air and juggles that maintain the accelerated rhythm. The cooldown power attacks add that special touch, allowing for epic moments that require timing, but never feel forced or out of control. In Double Dragon Revive, on the other hand, the combat feels a bit clunky, too basic. Hits miss frequently, the mechanics are finicky, and you often feel limited by the gameplay itself. There is no such feeling of fluidity or freedom. Everything seems somewhat forced, as if the game didn't want you to explore much beyond the basics. The result is gameplay that tires quickly and doesn't offer much room for creativity. What sets Marvel Cosmic Invasion apart is that it understands what makes combat fun. Quick response, variety of options, and mechanics that evolve with the player. It's not just about landing blows, it's about feeling the rhythm of the fight, exploring each character, and getting excited with every new combo discovered. That's what makes the game stand out and leave the opponent looking a step behind.
Many innocents in danger. We must hurry.
The first thing you notice about the Marvel game is how much the pixel art carries the game's identity on its back. It's not just pretty pixel art, it's the kind of sprite that seems alive, full of personality. Each hero has animations that tell you who they are without needing dialogue. You look at it and you feel the care in every frame, as if every movement was drawn with affection by someone who truly loves these characters. Phyla-Vell is a great example of this. Her hair flowing during attacks, the light details, the victory poses, everything helps build the image of a stylish and powerful cosmic warrior. It's not just a repeated model with a different skin. It's a character who conveys presence just through the animation. That's the kind of thing that makes you want to play with her even before you understand the moveset. And Venom, no need to even mention him. His transformations during attacks, the extensions of the symbiote, the way his body deforms and returns to normal, all of this works very well in pixel art. It's aggressive, exaggerated, and at the same time elegant. It's almost like seeing an old school fighting sprite with modern animation. Every blow looks like a mini visual spectacle, and this gives an absurd weight to the impact of the combat. The stages also help reinforce this atmosphere. They are vibrant, chaotic scenarios, with details that convey the feeling of a living universe. Moving backgrounds, destructible elements, lights, particles. It's not just a static backdrop. The scenario dialogues with the action, and this gives each fight its own look. You feel like you are in different places, with distinct atmospheres, not just repeating dull arenas. When you put this side by side with Double Dragon Revive, the difference is glaring. Revive's 3D seems generic, with that somewhat ugly, stiff, and cheap look, almost like a rushed mobile game. The models are stiff, the animations have no weight, and nothing really jumps out. While Marvel Cosmic Invasion looks like a pixel art love letter to fans, Revive gives an almost amateur impression, as if it were trying to keep up with the wrong generation with the wrong aesthetic. What impressed me most about Marvel Cosmic Invasion is that when you pick up the controller, everything responds instantly. The movement is snappy, you touch the directional pad and the character reacts immediately, without that feeling of delay or false wait. This makes a huge difference, because you feel like you are in control the entire time, and not fighting against the controller. In an action game, that's half the fun guaranteed. Hit confirmation is also very well done. When a blow connects, you feel it. There is visual, sound, and even enemy animation feedback. There is no doubt of, did it hit or not? This makes the combos much more satisfying, because you can chain the sequence knowing exactly when the attack connected. The feeling is of clean, fair, and extremely well-polished combat. The mechanics simply flow. Dash, jump, attack, cancel, character swap, everything connects naturally. You start by doing the basics, and without realizing it, you are chaining more advanced sequences just because the game allows you to experiment without punishing you with jank. It's the kind of system that encourages player creativity because it gives confidence. If something went wrong, it was execution, not a game failure. When you look at Double Dragon Revive, the difference is painful. The controls are rigid, often unresponsive, and that problem of the character turning in the wrong direction happens constantly. You want to hit one side, it turns to the other. You want to continue a combo, the enemy slides out of the hitbox, or the game itself drops the sequence. This completely breaks the rhythm and kills the pleasure of trying something more technical. In the end, Marvel Cosmic Invasion gives the feeling of a game that respects the player's time and skill. There is no unnecessary jank, no fight against the controller, just you and the system working in sync. It's the kind of experience where, when you miss, you know exactly why. And when you land a perfect combo, you feel like it was your merit, not luck or a favorable bug. This is where it effortlessly runs over Revive.
Great move! Sweet!
One of the coolest things about Invasion is how the levels manage to be short and yet full of content. Each stage lasts about 10 to 15 minutes, but it's not that straight and predictable corridor. There is always a small detour, an alternative route, an optional challenge that takes you off the main line. This makes each run feel a little different without becoming a tiresome labyrinth. These light branches work very well because they don't overload you. It's not about exploring a giant map. It's about deciding, am I going straight to the boss, or am I going to risk an extra challenge? This simple choice already makes the pacing more enjoyable. You feel like you are actively playing, not just following a script. And when you discover a new path or a challenge you hadn't seen yet, it gives you that pleasure of really unlocking the game little by little. The vaults are a masterstroke. Instead of just giving you number upgrades, They unlock alternative palettes, character bios, music. It's content that deepens the game's universe. This transforms each stage into an opportunity to unlock something that goes beyond the combat itself. Those who like to collect and delve into lore feel rewarded, and even those who just want a new look or a different track to listen to find a reason to revisit phases. When you put this side by side with Double Dragon Revive, the difference is brutal. Revive's levels are bland, uninteresting. They seem long without having anything interesting inside. And to make matters worse, they still try to shove platforming into a game whose controls weren't made for it. Imprecise jump, strange collision, weird timing, everything conspires against it. Instead of feeling like the level is challenging you, you feel like it's annoying you. Marvel Cosmic Invasion shows that you don't need giant phases to have depth. With short, well-designed stages full of small ramifications and rewards, the game invites you to replay voluntarily, not out of obligation. Revive, on the other hand, ends up looking like a straight path full of obstacles placed the wrong way, which only exposes the limitations of the controls and design instead of highlighting what the game could have best.
Hey, come on! There's enough dough to go around for everyone!
Better than rations.
Marvel Cosmic Invasion delivers something that every beat-em-up needs for longevity: legitimate reasons to come back and play again. The arcade mode is not just a repetition of the campaign with one life. It has unlockable modifiers that completely transform the experience, adjustable difficulties, and even a choice of alternative stages at some points to shorten or lengthen your run. This means that each session can be shaped the way you want, whether to do a hardcore speedrun or test absurd builds with extreme difficulty modifiers. Persistent progression is another giant differential. Your stat upgrades carry over from match to match. Your heroes get stronger as you level up, and you unlock data files, color palettes, music, and character-specific challenges that give meaning to the grind. It's not just mechanical replay. You are literally evolving your roster and building an arsenal of options every time you complete a run, which creates that addictive "just one more" feeling, because you know you'll come out stronger the next time. The drop-in co-op for up to 4 players is the cherry on top. It works locally and online with cross-platform. You enter and exit the session without breaking the flow, and the Cosmic Swap system lets everyone swap characters in the middle of combat to extend combos and avoid damage. Multiplayer in beat-em-up is already guaranteed fun, but when you have crazy modifiers, persistent builds, and cooperative challenges to complete, the replayability explodes because every session with friends turns into a different experience. Double Dragon Revive, on the other hand, is extremely light on content. The extra mode is basically a handful of challenges of increasing difficulty, like kill the boss with combos or eliminate X enemies in the time limit. It's decent as a pastime if you liked the campaign, but it doesn't add real content, only shallow variations of the same combat. It has no persistent upgrade system, no modifiers to alter the gameplay, no progression that makes you want to come back. It's literally playing the same levels again without any incentive. The locked gallery is the final insult. You have artwork and episodes to unlock, but the system is so obscure that even when meeting requirements, things remain locked without explanation. While Cosmic Invasion constantly rewards you with unlocks that affect the gameplay, Revive offers you art galleries and visual novel vignettes that don't even work properly. For a beat-em-up in 2025, this lack of post-campaign content is unacceptable. You finish the story and simply have no reason to continue playing. Marvel Cosmic Invasion seems to have been designed from scratch as a couch co-op and party beat-em-up, not just as a game that has co-op. The combination of local and online co-op for up to 4 players, with free entry and exit during the stage, transforms any run into something alive, where someone can arrive in the middle of the mess, pick a hero, and immediately join the combo. This gives that modern arcade feeling, The game never freezes because someone entered or dropped out of the match. The flow continues, and the screen remains full of action. The sweetest detail is the dynamic of 2 hero teams per player. Each person plays with a duo, and the system encourages you to think about the character's chemistry. Who is the zoner who controls space? Who is the bruiser who enters to finish? Who has crowd control to hold the screen when everything goes wrong? When the group starts fitting these swaps and assists at the right time, it looks like a tag team fighting game, only in the middle of a cooperative beat-em-up. This also completely changes the way you read the chaos on the screen. Instead of everyone hitting in their own corner, the game rewards when 2 players coordinate the duos. One pulls the enemies, the other activates an area special. Then the swap happens to extend the juggle. In more advanced runs, you can set up roles within the group, like the person who enters with a support character to buff and leaves, while another holds the DPS in the middle of the horde. Double Dragon Revive even supports co-op and, on paper, delivers the basics to play with a friend. But the problem is that the rest of the package doesn't follow suit. When the combat base has that jank, strange hitbox, enemy that doesn't react properly, bad depth reading, any co-op turns into more of a fight against the game than against the enemies. You feel that if the system were more refined, the co-op would shine. But as it is, it always feels like an almost there version. This lack of polish weighs even more when you compare it directly to the fluidity and visual clarity of Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which embraces chaos without sacrificing readability. In Revive, even playing with someone next to you, there's that feeling that the game wasn't fully tuned for co-op. Inconsistent feedback, situations where both take damage out of nowhere, and moments when the game simply doesn't respond as well as it should. In the end, both have co-op, but only one of them treats co-op as the heart of the experience, instead of a checkbox on the cover. Marvel Cosmic Invasion hits the mark on that point that keeps a beat-em-up going for hours. The soundtrack and voices make the world feel truly alive. Wolverine has that hoarse, tired tone of someone who has taken and delivered too many hits in life, while Iron Man delivers the irony spot on, always with that air of, I'm saving the universe, but I'll make fun of it in the process. These nuances make every cutscene and every combat line look like a comic book in motion, not just a doll repeating a catchphrase. The voice acting also works during the brawling, not just in cutscenes. The combat barks have personality. You can tell who the hero is just by the way they react when they take damage, land a super, or enter the scene. This greatly helps immersion when the screen is full of effects, because the identity of each character comes from their voice as much as their moveset. In a game with a large cast, if the voice doesn't hold up, everything turns into generic filler. Here, each one sounds like an authentic version of the character. The soundtrack follows the same logic. It's modern arcade, but with an old-school arcade soul. The tracks drive the pace of the stages, with heavier beats in hordes, synthesizers bursting in bosses, and themes that stick in your head after a few runs. The cool thing is that it doesn't sound like disposable background music. You feel that there is intent in every track, as if each planet or scenario had its own very well-defined sound climate. The Vault is where this OST really shines, because the game basically invites you to treat the soundtrack as a collectible. You unlock songs, go back to listen to them calmly, revisit which themes stood out the most, and even use this as an incentive to replay phases just to complete the collection. This kind of respect for the soundtrack gives the feeling that the music is a central part of the experience, not a random accessory thrown over the action. Double Dragon Revive, on the other hand, is somewhere in the middle. The soundtrack is okay, it does the job, but it rarely steals the show. It accompanies the brawling, it doesn't get in the way, it has that classic urban feel of the series, but it lacks that track you remember after finishing the game. Without distinctive voice acting to compensate, or truly memorable musical moments, the audio ends up functioning more as generic background. In the end, when you put the two side by side, you can feel that in Cosmic Invasion, sound and voice are part of the identity. In Revive, They seem more like a requirement fulfilled without much ambition. Marvel Cosmic Invasion conveys that feeling of a game made by people who truly love beat-em-ups and love Marvel. Every attack animation, every stage transition, every boss has a care that shines through on the screen. So even when you are getting beaten, you are still having fun. It's the kind of game that you finish a run thinking, okay, this is easily one of the best beat-em-ups in recent years. Not because it reinvented everything, but because it does almost everything right at the same time. The overall polish helps a lot with this. The inputs respond well, the depth reading is clear, the hitboxes make sense, and the visual and audio feedback when you hit or miss is very consistent. There is almost none of that frustration of, I swore I was aligned with the enemy, which is classic in a poorly finished beat-em-up. This creates a very healthy cycle. If you die, you feel like it was your mistake, not the game's, and that pulls you straight into another attempt. This feeling of care also appears in the way the game celebrates the Marvel Universe. The scenarios have details that refer to comic books and movies, the enemies and bosses have identity, and the interactions between characters carry a charm that goes beyond shallow fan service. You can feel that it's not just Marvel skin on a generic beat-em-up, but a project that understands the original material and tries to translate that into rhythm, humor, and combat style. When you put Double Dragon Revive next to this, the contrast is cruel. It does hit the mark at some isolated moments, but as a general package, it gives much more of the impression of something mediocre, functional, yet without that spark of personality. You feel the heritage of the Double Dragon name, but little there seems worthy of the franchise's weight. It's as if the game exists more out of brand obligation than real inspiration. The difficulty spikes in the final boss are the bitter cherry on top of all this. Instead of being a fair test of the skills you learned throughout the campaign, the boss seems like an artificial wall with unfair patterns, exaggerated damage, and unclear punishment windows. It's not that enjoyable challenge that makes you come back better. It's the kind of difficulty that wears out patience. Then the cycle closes. While Cosmic Invasion invites you to always come back because everything flows well, Revive ends up leaving a taste of frustration and tiredness.